Hello, and welcome to the podcast There Are No Good Games, where we discuss our opinions on past, present, and future games, as well as a whole load of other filler to keep us sane while we wait for a good game to play. Let's begin.
So it's been a while since we did a podcast. I was wondering, have we even recorded one this year?
We've recorded one this year in January. We recorded one in January. I put up in January, in which we talked about how great we're going to be and recording more podcasts more regularly. More often. There we go.
More, yeah. I think we failed at that task significantly, but we're back. We've started again. We kind of, like we said, there are no good games, but then there were a few games that piqued interest, and that's why there was no podcast. That's what happened, you know. The podcast can only run when there are no good games, completely and utterly.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going to go down the path of more, because, how can I say this? Like most New Year's resolutions, they fail before they actually kick off.
That's also true. It was kind of a New Year's resolution, so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, really, isn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly. Like
that makes sense.
We want to do a new thing. We want to try and do this more often, but let's be honest here, we're gonna fail it quite quickly.
Yeah. Well, that's good. We'll do better now. We'll do better.
Yeah, like you can't get worse than not doing anything, you know?
True.
It's only up from here.
So in the time off, I've done a lot of thinking, and I've come to a major pain point that happens in life, and I'd like your opinion on this. I think one of the worst things in the world, maybe not in the world, maybe one of the worst things of living in a location is taking in parcels for neighbours. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it depends on. So taking parcels in for neighbours, I think it depends on the cadence and how frequently it happens. If you become like a pseudo post office for your neighbour, that's the pain in the arse. Whilst if it's like the ad hoc one where it's like, I'm really sorry, I was in and the mailman / Amazon worker was so incompetent, they rang your doorbell anyway and gave you the parcel. I think that's fine. I think it depends because we have two different situations, right? But let's hear your situation first. And we can go.
Well, yesterday's so yesterday I took in 3 parcels.
Okay?
3. So 2 for the neighbour on the left of me and 1 for the neighbour on the right of me. So the first one was about what time? It must have been like 8 till 9 o'clock in the morning was the first delivery, which is very surprising because none of my parcels arrived. That's none of my parcels ever arrived that early in the morning. Yeah. Anyway, so this person rings my door, so I go down. And I open it up, and she goes, and she said, "Well, no, I've been awake for at least an hour and a bit by this point. I was just at the other end of the house, basically." And the delivery lady says to me, "What's your relationship with number this?" Right, the next door neighbor.
Okay.
And I'm just thinking, what do you mean? What is my relationship with number whatever? Like, does that mean no? Like, no, we don't get on. I killed their cat. Like, what does she want to like? Imagine
maybe she was like,
question,
maybe she was laying groundwork to see if you were like single or if you were dating the next door neighbor. You know,
I don't know. That's a weird kind of gram that would come to your door. Yeah. So anyway, I said it's okay, but I'm about, I'm planning to go out this morning, so if you, which clearly you want me to take their parcels in for them, that's why you have come to my door and disturbed me.
Yeah.
So I said I'm going out, and then she kind of like stared at me, and it's the kind of like point where you're just like, oh, just give them to me. Who cares? Like, because I'll just be like, whatever. Anyway, she's like, oh, I can put what time you're back. I'm like, you're not my calendar. I don't need to like store this somewhere. I just put just put pick up later, okay?
Yeah.
From time. And she was like, okay, I'll do that. So she gave me the 2 parcels, and I took them in. And then half an hour later, I went to go meet someone for coffee. So that was my morning. And then they came to pick them up around 6:30, okay, which was later, this is true, and then for sure I would have been back, so fine, okay. But okay, I then am walking back from coffee, and this is about like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So I walk back, and then I literally am passing the postman as he's outside my house, right? and I see him ring the doorbell of the other next door, right? And I've been like on a like I walk to this coffee shop, so I have to walk like around a lake to get there to get to the village. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I had walking boots on. They were muddy because it rained quite a bit recently. So I was kind of like, getting off the mud with my boots, standing outside my door. The door was open, and he's standing there. He's like ringing it again. The next door neighbours, and he's just standing there, and he comes like in a huff, and I'm just like, well, I've already taken in one set of parcels. Why not another?
Yeah.
So I said to him, oh, uh, I'll take them in. And he goes, oh, would you? And I go, yeah, why not? I was like, whatever. So I took it in. But then, it's still there at my front door. It's been 32 hours and it's still at my front door now. So, or it's not 32 hours from now, but you get the gist. It's been more than a day, and they
Okay.
haven't come to pick up the parcel.
Ooh. What about the third
That's when it
parcel?
gets annoying. But no, because it was two for the original first neighbour.
Oh.
So I've taken in two sets of parcels, for like two deliveries, let's say, but then three in total.
So you just got someone's parcel at your front door.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Because at what point do you just take it over to your next door neighbour? Do you ever do that?
No, I normally wait for them to come to me, and then if it's been a day or not, I just normally walk over after a day.
Yeah, maybe I'm gonna have to do that this afternoon. But I think the etiquette is they should come pick it up.
Yeah, no, agreed. It's not the you're not the postman on his behalf because they've decided not to turn up. If that makes any sense at all. Yeah, no, I agree.
Exactly. But I think the issue is like if I order something, I think it's quite important to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it didn't arrive, I'm gonna get straight on to insert delivery company here and go, where's my parcel?
Yeah.
Why haven't you delivered it? I was in this, and this, whatever nonsense happened. But then some people clearly don't care, and that's what I find so bizarre.
Yeah, no, it's weird because then you'll go over to them and be like, "Oh, did my parcel arrive?" And you're like, "Well, yeah, you got a fucking ticket for the door there, so yeah, it has arrived. Please take your damn parcel."
Yeah. So I think this is one of my new hatreds in life.
I mean,
do I mind it? Yes. Will I do it? Sure. I'll still take them in. But
yeah, no, I agree. I think we had like a very similar one. Like I think I had the opposite one, which was we had a package come in that was like some new pots and pans and stuff for the house, and we were in the house all day on like I think it was the Sunday, with it being like a long weekend and stuff like that. And I got a buzz on my phone, and I was like, oh, "Okay, the guy must be outside." And it went, "Your parcel has been failed to deliver," and I think the time was like 5:30, but on the ticket it said 5:35.
right.
So he like future dated it, and I was like, right. And then it was like, we would try again tomorrow. Or no, we cannot try again because it's a bank holiday on Monday. So we'll try again on Tuesday. And I was like, but I'm not here on Tuesday. And then it was just like a similar thing where it got pushed to Wednesday and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's post is a very like prideful, important thing to everyone. I think, like, especially if you're expecting something or you want something, and the worst thing ever is for someone just to be a silly person and not actually give it to you, or not come collect it.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, what happens if you've got drugs at your house at the moment because they've refused to pick up their parcel?
Well, this is true. If the natural drug raid is planned on my house, then I will get caught with this parcel. But luckily, it's not addressed to me, so I'm kind of hoping to be fine.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So I think quest design in games is important, but obviously, I think quest design is quite hard to do. And like, I don't know if I said to you what is good quest design. If you could give me an example of one, or maybe not give me an example because I think it's quite easy to give examples, but like give me a description of what is good quest design for a game.
I mean, what do you mean, like a full quest? Is it like, so I think we need to set parameters around this quest, right? Because if you say quest, I think of the classic World of Warcraft, go kill 12 gnolls, get their pelts and come back to me and deliver them.
Right.
Or it could be in the idea of like The Witcher, which is like, go get my frying pan back. Or it can be like a more generic thing, and we take Uncharted as an example, and it's Nathan Drake's quest to go get like fucking buried treasure somewhere. Like, it depends what type of grandiose quest you're talking about. So
Well,
what
this
do
is the
you have
thing.
any
This is why I said it's
context?
quite hard. Well, this is why I said it's you. All you gave me was examples there, which is exactly what I said we couldn't do because all those are naturally designed around the like what the game is, right? And someone could say, "Oh, a really good World of Warcraft quest is this," right?
Hmm.
And they could say a bad example is this, right? But that doesn't actually say what is good and bad because if you try and compare that to another game, they will have different parameters, as you say, that they use when designing the quests. Okay. So maybe what we say is those parameters that you were about to detail, hopefully, after the examples,
Sure.
those are what actually defines what makes a good quest.
I mean, what's the, like the setting of the universe? Like, because
Well, again, this is why I said it's really hard to compare. And this is why I'm saying it's a really hard topic because you naturally will extend to examples or you then start getting to backstory instead of actually what it makes a good quest, right?
okay,
So I'm not asking you to design a quest, or like I'm not saying we need to design a quest in order to work this out, although we could do after we've set these parameters. But actually, like you could say a quest needs to last longer than 10 minutes, right? That's a parameter. Okay. But actually, if you're in World of Warcraft, is that a good parameter? Because I think people want to go from quest to quest to get the XP, and actually, you don't want it lasting necessarily too long.
I think for me, my favorite type of quests are ones where you move forward. So I'm not a big fan of quests that cause you to like go out to a certain area, do some stuff, and backtrack. I like the idea of like moving forward. Like my favorite type of quest are probably the zone to zone quests. If I was to use WoW as an example,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like you finish off in a new zone, you go into a new area, you get to explore it, and you get to re-meet everyone. I think the worst type of quests out there at the moment are your classic go kill this mob that drops occasionally. I don't know, pig feet, and you have to go kill 55 monsters to get 20 pig feet or something like that. Like
Right.
collection quests suck. Killing quests, yeah, they're not bad. You can kind of like wrap stuff up in the corner and then just kind of blast them down. You can kind of get that done quickly. Or it's
Mm.
like I think collection quests are quite cool, but the
Yeah.
worst other type of quest is the classic follow the NPC. Like the
Okay.
NPCs having like a huge dialogue blog, and you just have to follow them around the entire time and keep within range. Or stealth quests where you've got like a circle of influence you cannot walk into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see. I think, okay, so those are all valid quests for potentially like an MMO, let's say.
Yes.
But also you could look at it differently. Is that like obviously we'll go with quest slash missions? They're all the same thing, right? They're things you've got to go do. You could say like in Cyberpunk, there's early on in the quest line, you have to like go meet the doctor guy,
Yep.
basically the guy who can give you your mods, right? And in that quest, it basically allows you to drive through part of the city to first explore part of the city, and then you kind of get out into this thing, you meet two new characters, the other, like your friend's girlfriend and the doctor.
Yep.
And then you learn effectively about the modifications and it kind of teaches you through that, right?
Yep.
So is that a good quest because it has different elements to it and it allows you firstly to explore part of the game because that's kind of like your first time out in the city, I think. But then also it allows you to kind of progress the story in terms of meeting new characters, which actually becomes quite important later on at the end of the kind of act one, let's call it. And then also it teaches you a new mechanic, which is the modifications. So like is that like a well designed quest because it does those things?
Yeah, I think so. Like, so I think if you view it down, you have to take back the game stuff and think about the person who's actually playing it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
people like to feel like they're making progress. That could be in the gym, that could be losing weight, that could be learning a hobby, or that could be anything. It's good to see where you started from to what you have access to now or what you can do now. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what makes like a really good quest. So the Cyberpunk example is really cool because in Cyberpunk you can run around, you can shoot stuff, you can do other bits. But the minute you get was it the minute you meet the Ripper Doc, you then get access to your like body modification and your chromage.
Yeah.
And that's when you can actually start doing stuff. So yeah, I think that's a good quest because you learn a bit, you are introduced to new characters, but realistically, you get that payoff of you move a step forward, you get an additional bit of stuff, and you kind of take another step forward sort of stuff, right? Like I think that's
Right.
yeah, it's a good quest because you're moving forward and your skill set or tool set's being enhanced.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Because I think like yeah, because like I think there's a very even MMOs like let's look at WoW to Final Fantasy. The quests are kind of similar. Like they have similar structures in terms of like you need to go kill this or you need to go
Hmm.
gather this. You know those kind of things. Like that's but that so does every MMO effectively, right? But in like Final Fantasy, the way they're developed and the way it's directly linked to a lot of the story. Most of the time, there are some filler quests here and
Yeah.
there. If you're doing the MSQ, the main story quest line, then you actually do feel like the progression because it's all story related, right? And actually, if you don't feel like it's story related as part of like what is called the main story quest line, then it becomes more of a chore. And actually, I think those are when the quests become negative, basically, because you feel like your time hasn't been wasted.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think the issue for me personally, where I get to with all types of MMO quests, is it gets very repetitive. Like
Hmm.
that's why I think we talk about the level ding grats thing so much. Like when you go and do a quest, you go do like a big mission and stuff like that, and it's really hard and you're doing a lot of stuff. You want to feel like you've achieved something, you got given something after that big like major story event or that big major quest.
Yeah,
I think the story does have to move along, but I think also like it has to change scenery. There has to be like a new tempo to it and all that sort of stuff.
yeah,
But I think the
yeah,
issue
yeah,
of MMOs is like you can be you can be in the middle of I'm trying to think of an example here. If you remember like Legion, Grizzly is it Grizzly Hills or
yeah. In Wrath of the Lich King.
yeah, Wrath of the Lich King and stuff like that. When you're going around and then you finish a quest and then everything phases in and all of a sudden all the trees are on fire, everyone's getting attacked by like the undead legions by Arthas and all that sort of stuff, and you can just
Yeah,
like sit in a corner somewhere and log out. Like I think for me that's where those sorts of games really struggle because there's no like break in pace. Like there's stories happening around you, but you can decide at any point just to call it a day.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I see what you mean.
I think like
That's fair.
the good quests are stuff where you feel like almost obliged to move forward. Like a good example I would say is when you remember when you first get your first dungeon in original classic World of Warcraft, and you can go hit the Dead Mines or Shadowfang. Is it Shadowfang Basin or like which is the one in Ogrimmar?
Uh, One in Orgrimmar.
Yeah, it's
The
like
what? Oh, you mean Rage of Fang Chasm?
Razor Fang Chasm.
Chasm.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Rage Fire Chasm. Yeah.
Rage Fire Chasm. There we go. Thank you. But when you get those sorts of quests, you feel immediately like you're compelled to take the next step forward and immediately do the dungeon. I think those types of quests are good because you're like you're getting your big hit because you're like you've now unlocked blah blah. Or in Final Fantasy, when they're like you have now unlocked the dungeon, you immediately like you smack the dungeon button and you immediately dive into it head first, right?
Yeah.
Those are good quests that like they compel the player to carry on playing, and from a player perspective they're getting something new to their experience they haven't already previously experienced or had before.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
What was the
Yeah.
context of your question though, because you said what makes a good quest? Why did you ask that?
So I think as it comes down to like the original question, it's based on like you gave examples straight away to the question, and what I was trying to find out was actually is it possible to like take it away from the original like examples and actually pull it together and go actually it's bad because you need to be able to feel like you've made progress in the general storyline, for example. That's what you said makes a good quest or mission.
Yep.
And actually it's true, people do like feel bad when they don't feel the story has progressed or they haven't leveled through something or they haven't unlocked something.
Yep.
So I think what we've come down to in this is actually a good quest is those things. It's when you feel like it's progressed through the game in some form, and a bad quest is one where you just feel like you're doing something and you don't see the reason behind it, basically, or you don't have that reward at the end of it. That's a good progression.
Yeah, no, exactly. So recently, as you know, I like to spin a lot of plates and cause mass amounts of stress to myself on like a daily basis because that
You
seems to be the way
you
I
do
work.
live in a circus, yeah. You do
Yeah,
live in
I
a
do live in a
circus.
circus where it's like editing, recording, work, other stuff.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
started to rework on the board game, uh,
Right.
what was it, Loot and Leave?
This is a long time ago since you
Yeah,
were last working on this, but
yeah, a
yes.
long time ago since we started talking about this. So I've been reading up a lot of like stuff, and like I've been inspired by previous conversations that we've had around recording that journey and kind of building on that sort of stuff. So,
Right.
and I know we both like binge watching YouTube videos and into very niche content and stuff like that.
Sure.
I was thinking about doing a Loot and Leave dev vlog for board games, because I feel like
Okay.
board games are a very undocumented niche in terms of like development. I might be completely wrong here, but I was looking at it the other day and I was like, oh, how do you go find a publisher, or how do you like prototype stuff like that? And like Haley bought me a, what do you call it, like a book at Christmas about how to develop a board game and stuff like that, because I was doing Loot and Leave and I was really interested in that.
Sure.
So I was like, what makes a good devlog, or like what sort of flavor do people like when they kind of watch stuff? Like if you were to go sit down and watch a devlog for a video game that you're interested in, or that you knew was coming out soon, what kind of brings you towards to go watch that? Because I've got a couple of them that I watched, like Blight, which is the night/zombie crossover game that's coming out soon, and I think there's been a couple other devlogs I watched for like the guy who does like the game video essays and stuff like that. But what interests you for like good dev vlogs and stuff like that?
Well, I I think it's quite hard because a lot of them, they never actually. Some of them never see the light of day, the game itself, or it's never finished. So that's what's quite tricky about it, because some of the best ones are some that are those things. But in the past, sometimes the good ones are actually when just the whole video is just the game they've made, right?
Yep.
So typical examples would be something like Muck, the survival game.
Oh yeah.
Created by Danny. Like that was done in one video, although he did a follow-up video later. He then later did Crab Game. Again, it was all made in one video.
Oh.
And so like those ones naturally are the most popular ones. But that's not to say like that doesn't work, because often on YouTube, I'll see new ones pop up and they've got a good couple of 10,000 views, and they kind of come out, they've literally just started, right? So clearly people are looking for these, but they there's such like a progression of where things aren't finished later. And, you know, if you're into like watching devlogs, you're never going to have like a unlimited source of them, because mostly you'll check when was the last upload, or does this game interest me? And those things both have to kind of meet in a good spot. Otherwise, you're probably not going to watch it. So I think it's definitely for the right type of game, which for like Danny, for example, when he was doing them, again, he hasn't done one in quite a while. His ones were quite meme oriented, we'll call it. So that kind of naturally fit for a lot of people. And it didn't really matter if people was into survival games, although obviously that would have helped. And people went to go play it on Steam because it was a free game on Steam. So it'd be a free advertising for that. But then also for like other things, I think it's also my door.
Is that the mail person? Is that the mail person? It might be a conclusion. I'll let you go answer.
Hold on 1 second.
No worries.
He definitely heard me through the wall. There's no doubt about that.
Did he pick up his parcel?
He did pick up his parcel.
Perfect. Yeah. Great.
Now my line of thinking is fucking ruined. Where was I? You asked me. I was on a long bit as well.
I know.
Shit.
Danny making video games quite memey and like content wise and stuff, I think was the topic.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go from that then. So I think it depends on the game. I think as the game they're making and the time. So if, for example, someone's not uploaded in a while, then you might not want to watch it, because you might see it as as in there's no follow-up, so why bother starting it?
Yeah.
Then also the game they're making is also quite important, because if it's a genre you're interested in, and maybe it's a game like you want to make, that kind of thing, then again, you might start it. So like Danny, for example, hasn't uploaded in a while, but his ones are one-off, so they work quite well. But then if you find one, there's a few ones that I've watched before, which are like, they're kind of, I'm interested in them because it's not even like I want to play the games. They're Nintendo 64 style games, right?
Okay.
I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, but actually I'm more interested in the way they limit themselves, thinking of how it would have had to be done on the Nintendo 64, right?
Yeah.
So that's like graphics. They're like, oh, I can't use too many pixels for these models. I can use so many vertices. And actually, even though they've got all the modern tools in Unreal Engine or Unity, they're still structurally stuck in that kind of format, right? So there's that. So I've watched those, but then they are so infrequent, those uploads. And I think one guy has stopped that I haven't seen them in a while. So the ones I kind of watch now are ones that have just started. So I'll go on YouTube and I've seen literally just uploaded, and those ones have like 20,000 views, 30,000 views already somehow compared to other videos on YouTube. There seems to be like a good market for game devlogs.
Yeah.
And then I'll start watching them. And usually if it's early, I'll start watching them. Like as in, I know they you don't know yet whether they're going to continue, so you're interested in it. But obviously, it depends on the game. Like I've watched one which was like a factory-like game, but for like cutting down trees and something like that. I've watched one which is now like a gardening game. His name has lost me right now, but he's quite good on the game dev vlogs. Again, very infrequent, but he does a lot of those. He was working on a city game, then scrapped that, and is now working on a different game. So at least then you've got the content and the guy's voice, which you have to, again, or the person's voice, you have to enjoy. Because if they're not interesting, also it's boring. So there's loads of different factors involved with it, basically.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fair enough. No, I was just trying to work out like the best way of kind of doing it, because I think for me it's like content, frequency, and what's being covered. And I think it's watching something being made. Like there's nothing, and like knowing there's an endpoint. Because I feel like with some of the devlogs, like it might be like a crux of like a developer as a non-stop. It's just like it never actually gets finished.
Yeah. Well, I think we've spoken about how I'm starting this somewhat in the summer. Basically, I've got a project which I'll be doing to then go up on YouTube. But the thing is that the timeline for that is I won't release a video until I'm effectively at like episode 3, and each of those episodes is going to be a good amount of time and have a good amount of like content and development through them. And when the first episode is already online, there'll already be a Steam page for the game I'm making. That's kind of the aim of it. And so it's kind of dedicated to that. And so I think like that's kind of, in my opinion, that done properly, because you're ahead of the curve for it.
Yeah.
There are negatives with it, whereas like if you ask for feedback in your videos from the comments, you're not going to see that feedback for another 4 episodes. And if you only upload those every fortnight, let's say, to get to the episode, which might have some of me replying to comments, it'll be a month and a half. So it is potentially difficult to do that. But I think that's the best bet, is that you kind of know what content's coming.
Yeah.
Also, if you're in the game of Patreon and stuff like that, you can kind of get previews and you can have all those lined up. And that's more of like it kind of run like a business, and maybe done a bit structured. Now, whether that's a good thing or not, I think so, potentially. But again, people watching will have to make up their own mind when I do it.
Yeah, no, I think that's the way to do it. Like, I think realistically, if you're putting your time and effort into it, you should be able to like fund off it, if that makes sense. Like, if you're putting time and effort into like a product and you're not being paid for it, you should try and find other ways of funding. So yeah, a Patreon, I think, is a good idea for it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take that in consideration and then use that going forward.
So recently games have come out on Steam and they have done quite well. The first one in recent times of this recording is Content Warning, which came out earlier this week, and in its first day decided that it was going to come out for free. And clearly they'd done a bit of work beforehand, marketing it. I mean, I didn't see any of that. I just saw when it was on the day of release and it was free, which also in its own way is good marketing. But they ended up getting 6 million people download it on the first day, who therefore never bought the game. And then it went up to £6 or £7.69 or something like that afterwards. But it's an insane number, and obviously it's done quite well. But is that a good thing for the game?
Oh yeah, like I think I I think the power of FOMO is very strong in terms of like groups of games playing with friends, right? So if three of your friends are playing a game, you're going to buy that game. If two of your friends are playing that game, you're going to buy that game. Or worst of all, if you see a creator or a content channel play that game, you're going to go buy that game. By making it free, you're not having to pay for any advertising or marketing. You're not having to reach out to any streamer, any YouTuber, any creator, and all that sort of stuff. You're letting people do the marketing for you by playing the game and then posting it online.
Yeah.
Like I think,
Now,
yeah, you go.
well, I was going to say now there is a significant issue though that has caused them, two actually major ones. The first one is the way they host their servers. For some reason, it's not like peer to peer
Mm.
over Steam Relay. Actually, they are hosting servers somewhere for each individual lobby, which is bad
Oh,
and
crazy.
expensive. So that's a first issue. And the second one was that all their Steam reviews got wiped when they decided to go from the free to paid model. So they'd already received tens of thousands of extremely positive. They were overwhelmingly positive, and then a couple of hours after it was made, to pay money for, they only had 80 reviews, and it was only positive.
Oh, well, surely that's a issue on Steam, right?
It's not an issue on Steam. The reason is that on Steam, free products, unless it's a solely free product, the reviews basically don't get counted, right? So if you get a product for Steam, or like you get a key somewhere else off Steam and then write a review for it, your review does not count for the weighting of like the overwhelmingly positive, right? Which is
Okay.
fair enough. It shouldn't do. So what's happened is basically because then they went paid, all those free reviews got basically, they still exist. You can go view them, but they don't get added to that total of like that 40. It's probably it's a lot more now, but that 40 number that was there a couple of hours after the second release, let's call it, that was then lower basically. So they lost a lot of reviews. So it was quite a massive negative in that sense as well, which I don't think they planned for either of those two things.
That's crazy. What the, like, I don't know. I think that's a little bit silly to say the least. Like, I don't know what my thought process is, but it's just like, if you're trying to make it free so people can review your game, that's fine. But like, reviewers get stuff for free all the time, so why? I mean, I think it should be like, it should be the Steam page of like, here's the review. This person received the product for free. Like, this person didn't pay for the product.
But do you not? That's what it also says that though as well.
Oh, okay,
that's what I mean. But like I said, it doesn't get counted the overall total.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So my review that I wrote for the game, based on our play session that we did only week, is marked as product was received for free. No matter whether you tick the box that you received it for free or not, it's irrelevant. It gets overwritten because Steam knows you got it for free.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think it should be counted, but like, I understand the trepidation because obviously, if you get it for free, you're gonna do something completely different, right? Like, if I get a game for free and you pay £10 for a game, we're gonna have two different ideas of it. I think we talked about this before.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I understand it. I think that's fair, but I think it should be like free reviews versus like normal reviews. I don't know what the best way is to kind of like break it up, honestly.
Well, I think it's because games don't normally do this, that there is no system behind doing anything like that. And actually, all Steam has is a single review system, which is pretty normal. So, yeah, I think this is like it's one of those one-off things that I don't think they foresaw because they didn't have any evidence to suggest what was going to happen. But actually, if you look at how Steam does reviews, it makes a lot of sense and actually could have been predicted. But I also think they did not think how much it was going to cost for their hosted model of servers and lobbies, especially with the concurrent numbers, which is also why the game was horribly laggy and buggy for a number of days because those servers were getting stressed as well. Instead of it just being through Steam Relay, which would have been each server was hosted on someone's PC, and then basically kind of like the IP address and the relay system was making it so you didn't have to port forward. That's how Steam Relay works. So that would have been the smarter move, but clearly they decided to do it I think, potentially easier route, which was the hosted servers. But I mean easier because there's a ton of tutorials for those services, which has probably raked in a ton of money from them recently. Yeah. But obviously, if you think about the first day, they would have seen on their dashboard for that service how much money they were going to have to pay,
Yeah.
and they had made none. So quite a big problem to have, obviously.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. I think they threw a Hail Mary and I think it made it. But I think the issue is you have to take big risks nowadays to kind of like match up. I agree, a little bit dumb that you didn't do the Steam Relay stuff because I thought that would have been such an easy like concept to do. And this is me coming as it from an outsider versus having to then go pay for it and risk the cost yourself. A little bit silly, guys, to be honest, but I understand why you did it. You wanted to make sure a good service, but I just also don't think they expected it to blow up as much as I don't know. Like, do you think they do you think they thought it was going to blow up this much? Or do you think it was just like, oh crap, what do we need to do?
Yeah, I think it was, or I think it's both ways, to be honest with you. I think like both, they knew that what they were doing to make it free meant they wouldn't get more, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't think 6 million was in their purview, personally.
Yeah, no,
I don't think
exactly.
anyone would have thought that for the game it is as well. Like, I mean, people want those type of games, which is why it has done well, obviously. But you're not going to think 6 million in the first day for a free download.
No, exactly. Like that's crazy, especially like the servers and stuff. Like you joked, like the servers obviously got freaking tanked. So it'd be interesting to see their bill after that. So if any of the creators are listening, I'd love to see the bill. But no, I think it's like you got to play big to make big, right? Like I think for them, they did the exact right thing to do. They released it for free on April 1st. It was a really good play. A little dangerous, but it pulled off. I think if it didn't pull off, they wouldn't have been able to do anything. And I think the issue is nowadays to get seen, you have to do stupidly ridiculous stuff. I don't know how you feel about this.
No, I think you're right. I think the marketing is good for it, and it did do well. That's not necessarily the problems. I think it did too well, in my opinion. As in, like it's
too much money.
It's cost them potentially more than they thought. If they said, because obviously, it's because streamers initially started playing it straight away. And they probably did some pre-marketing, gave some keys to streamers, and they were ready to play immediately, right?
Yeah.
And so they did. People saw it. They knew it was free. They went to go get it, and then they told their friends it was a free game, kind of like what I said to you. It's a free game. You got to go get it now. Rush. Get loads of 6 million people later, and you're like, this potentially has done too well, because if, let's say, it was only 100,000 people, okay. Yeah. You could have been like, okay, great, because this now can spread now that it's paid for, and people now start, YouTube videos start to come out, more people start streaming it, and it will grow from there. But potentially they've lost too much revenue at this point, because 6 million is a significant amount of their player base they probably were going to have and pay for.
Yeah, I think it's the classic saying of just like, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. Like, yeah, they should have done a lot more work on it, but I think the issue is with viral success, no one expects it to happen.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's the issue. I think they did fine for what they did. Yeah, they're going to have a huge learning lesson, and they're going to have a very strongly worded conversation with their person who did the projections, and all that sort of stuff. But it happens, right? Like, it does happen. Like sometimes you do get those like Cinderella stories. But I think maybe they could have been a little bit more quicker on the mark. Like if they went, you know what, it's 12 o'clock today. We need to flip it over right now because we're like taking on too much traffic, and it's now going to cost us like an arm and a leg to do.
Yeah, well, I think to be honest, it's the two things compounding together which caused the problems in my mind. Not the fact that they did it for 24 hours and they got 6 million. That's obviously a positive, but it's the fact that unfortunately, the route they took for their networking was, in my opinion, the wrong one. Yes, it was the easier option for potentially the group's first networked game, and like I said, it will cost them more instead of doing it the Steam Relay way. But that's just the way it goes. You can't, like, they can learn from that now, and maybe their next game they won't do the system they've gone through, which I'm trying not to say the name of. Yes, it's one of those things, and I think the two things compound together is negative. Not each one individually is fine.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think that's completely fair. Like it's a nice. How can I say this nicely? it's something to laugh at. Like, I think there's still people playing it. It's still not like a hot topic on YouTube yet. It's starting to get that way, but like it's just funny watching it because you do start to see more and more people start to like play it, upload videos, and upload content to it. So, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, there's still the time now for them to port the game to Xbox, let's say, or like other consoles, because all of those, it works with the control scheme 100% it would do. And therefore, that will just be paid from the get go. And so people who don't have computers, which is quite a significant amount of people who are gamers, can now have access to it and they will get all the money from there.
Yeah, no, exactly.
As well. So there's still positives for it. And the name recognition will work quite well for them if they push that in the future.
Yeah, what's the phrasing? It's a nice to have problem.
Yeah. So we're recording this in spring, where the weather's getting better. It's going to be 20 degrees centigrade tomorrow on Saturday, which is going to be the warmest day of the year so far, which is good. So it's definitely going warmer and closer to the summer. So my question to you is, what is your ideal barbecue? Okay, so you're going to name one food, one drink, your location, and the famous person you want to come to your barbecue.
And the famous person I want to come to my barbecue.
Do you want to list those categories again?
I think it'd be a burger.
Okay. What type of burger? Hold on. What type of burger? This is your ideal barbecue. You can't say a burger. You know, like what is the burger you want?
I think the burger I want is like a beef patty on like a brioche bun with some like vegetables like lettuce, tomatoes, mustard, ketchup, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
The drink would be like a Desperados beer.
All right. That's your ideal hot weather drink, is it?
By the beach or next to like a body of water.
Right. Okay. Okay. I'm glad you said body of water. I said by the beach or next to a body. I was like, okay.
next to a body. No, but like by the pool or something like that, where you can kind of just like sit and chill. Maybe by the ocean, and then probably Gordon Ramsay to go make my burger.
Wow, that is clever.
Yeah,
that is a good loophole. I didn't think about that one. That because that enhances the food.
Yeah,
definitely.
Exactly. It enhances the food. You get a little bit of a story of how to do it, and then I think that's the best way to do it.
Okay, I like it. Okay, good.
What would yours be?
Well, see, this is the thing, right? It depends on how you class barbecue food, right? Because would a hog roast technically be a barbecue?
No, that's a roast.
But is it though? Because it's technically
it's in the
over. I would like a whole hog on my barbecue.
No, you want a hog roast on your barbecue.
No. Now you're just adding words to the thing. So let's just say I can. Okay, so it's be a hog roast. Okay.
I mean, I think you put it on the spit. You don't put it on the barbecue. That's the issue.
Yeah, but the spit goes over a barbecue.
Yeah, but a barbecue is like.
Okay, but if you have like things on skewers, technically it's the same shit. They're just lying.
That's a kebab.
Okay, so I want a whole hog on a kebab. Okay.
Sure.
There we go. I found the loophole. You had one. I've got my loophole now as well. Okay.
I feel like you're more I found a loophole than anything else.
No, but I now got a loophole, so we're even. Anyway, so that would be the food, which I think I think that definitely is good because then you can feed a lot of people and yourself, obviously, and there's loads of stuff. And that would like be done. You then have it like in a bap or something like that. Like a brioche bun. The drink, okay. I think I would go with. See, I would say like an IPA, but actually, I think some freshly squeezed homemade lemonade. Okay, I think that's going to be the drink for the barbecue.
That sounds like a lot of
refreshing. Well, okay. Well, there's no flies at this barbecue.
Oh, okay.
It's an ideal barbecue. Okay. Remember, so those things don't exist in this ideal world. Okay. The location would be like in a park, right? But so like I mean like fresh. What I mean is like mowed grass. In like a large scale park, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Sure, I know what you
Okay.
mean by large scale park. Yep, carry on.
Okay, good. So like you're looking around, and
Like
there's some
St.
trees.
James's or like High, what's it, Hyde Park?
Potentially, maybe
Yeah,
like a bigger park like that. I think like St Albans Park, which is kind of like bigger and like more kind of
yeah. Okay.
varied in the open instead of like in the middle of a city.
Mm,
And then the famous person, okay, who would it be?
it'd be me.
Well, I don't know if fame follows you in this sense of the ideal barbecue. I mean, you're
Okay.
definitely invited to the barbecue,
Okay, that's good.
but I think my kind of famous person card could be someone else. I think other than you. I mean, you didn't say I could come to your barbecue, so I'm a bit hurt by that, but that's fine. The famous person would be the inventor of the barbecue, and I'll show him it's actually better to have a hog roast than whatever he designed. Done. That would be my thing. Do we know who invented the barbecue?
So
I don't know.
I think there is.
Inventor of the barbecue.
I mean, it just sounds like a very spiteful conquerors from Spain.
Right, I've got George Stephen, cooked the
Okay.
first modern barbecue grill in 1952. He was a welder. There we go.
Well,
That's who invented
according
the
to
first
this,
barbecue.
after the Spaniards and Columbus landed the Americas in 1492, they found the people of Tano roasting meat on a wooden framework resting on sticks above a fire. But there we go.
So technically, a hog roast could technically work in that in their original technique.
So apparently, it has to be on a rack, and I think as long as you can get your spit and other things on a rack, you're fine because it still technically counts.
Nice. See, all planned out.
There you go. Okay, but your barbecue just sounds very spiteful. I'm not going to lie, Ollie.
I don't think so. I think it's just better than yours. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
I'm going to invite the person who invented the barbecue to let them know that it's a better idea to put a hog roast on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It just sounds very passive aggressive.
Well, they should have. You know, they could have made anything, and they made something pretty stagnant. You know, so at least like with the hog roast, it spins around. It's been more interesting. You know.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's different. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
No worries. So speaking of video games and all that sort of stuff, if you had to remove a genre of video game from the market, what would it be and why?
If I had to remove a genre of video game,
Yeah, like that genre of video game is banned. So let's say, for instance, you hate
why am I
simulation
banning?
games.
I'm banning people making artwork. This seems okay. Fine. Okay, I'll run with this.
Okay, if you what? Okay, let me rephrase this since you don't want to like start like canceling certain types of art and.
You're trying to get people to hate me. I can see where this is going.
It's just a hot topic. It's a hot topic. What genre of game do you despise / refuse to play outright, and why?
Okay, I know what I'm going to say. Okay, and it's
It's a doozy. Hold on.
It is. I'm trying to explain it right. Okay, it's the games that go on Steam where all that you do is rearrange a picture with like in the tiles. It's like the tile picture stuff. Okay, and it creates a picture. Now, naturally, some of these pictures are slightly, we'll put anime sexualized. Okay, that's the way I explain it right now. And these do frequently pop up on Steam, but I just don't see what is the point, why Steam accepts all these games, and why people play them. So that would be the genre of game I'm gonna ban in general. Like it doesn't matter whether it was these. Clearly, what sells the sex nature of these games, but no matter whether it is that or other thematics of images, I think we should ban them.
Other thematics of images. So you're basically saying like, low effort hentai games.
No. I could go onto on any artwork AI website, generate some artwork. I could generate like multiple bits of art, 100 pieces of artwork of landscape or something like that, and then I stick it into the game. It's the same code that generates the tiles, and then the tiles it rearranges them, and then the person has to fix it. That would potentially take, I would say, it would take longer to get AI to generate the 100 images than it would just to program the general thing.
Okay.
It's low effort. All of it's low effort.
Okay. But when you say it's also just like someone just trying to make some money on the side, or okay, so you let me go back to this. So you'd ban it because it's low effort, and you despise low effort games, or
Well, I think you asked me what genre, and it's clearly a genre of like a genre of puzzle game. Okay, but it doesn't. It's like if I don't want to say like, oh, I'm gonna ban all I don't know, action games. Like that doesn't even explain much either. But like all horror games, or specifically gore horror games, because I want to protect the children. Like that could be an example of something I could say. Yeah, it's a stupid thing to say, but I think this particular example I've given is fair because it's low quality. Okay, it's a genre which doesn't add anything. I don't know why there's so many of them on Steam, potentially because they do sell and they're easy to make. I think you have to answer my own question there, but which is why I'm banning them, because I don't think it's good. It's not a good game. As in, there are no such things as good games, obviously, but this is naturally a very, very poor one.
okay, that's fair enough then. Interesting.
That's my 2 cents.
Okay, interesting.
What would be your game? What one would you do? Since I've given a naturally one that I think I've explained why, but yeah, you've now got to give me one, which hopefully you're not going to offend too many people at.
Oh, mine is extremely, I think, non-controversial, so I think it's fine. We, there might be riots outside my door, and my house will be burnt down. Rhythm puzzle games, like rhythm games, just I hate them.
Why?
Because they're literally just inputting a sequence of inputs when prompted to by the screen, and at that point you might as well go do another job.
Sounds like a skill issue to me personally.
No,
I think that's why.
I look. I think there's a difference when people are like, I'm really good at rhythm games. And you're like, okay, but can you do rhythm stuff? It's like, well, no. And you're like, okay, then it's not a rhythm game. It's just like following inputs. Like, I find I don't mind Guitar Hero and stuff like that, but like I think it's just like I'm glad they've died out because they're just very weird and very I don't know, just crummy. Like there's not much to really watch. It's not a game where you can kind of watch someone and be like, wow. It's like, oh, that guy could follow the inputs. Good job for you. Good job that you learned that. Like, does that make sense?
So you don't think anyone who's done like Guitar Hero 100% of like Through the Fire and Flames is talented?
It's cool, but like I'm not gonna be like, wow, you're so talented. It's just like, nice, good job for you.
And you want to ban them?
Yeah,
you want to ban Guitar Hero?
I want to ban Guitar Hero and any other titled rhythm puzzles games. Yeah,
I think that is an insane. I think that is an insane. I mean, it's you can ban as per the thing. You can ban what you want. I just think it's an insane take personally, but that's fine.
Banning rhythm games?
I just think banning rhythm games to say. I think your reason for is you don't like them.
Yeah,
and they're too skillful for you. That's basically what you've said. Not too
skillful. It's just like you just have to like.
Sounds like
you have to just
me.
muscle memory your way through it. Either that, or I'd probably say like visual novel games, because you're at that point just go read a book or go watch TV.
Could you not muscle memory your way through any game?
I think you could, but you have to be able to adapt to what's happening. I think the issue is like most rhythm games have a stated path that doesn't change each time, so you can just practice bit by bit and eventually get there. Like if you only got muscle memory, like, there you go.
Well, I was going to say indifferent, like to like Elden Ring, for example, where you can learn the skill sets, but you'll never know the order it happens.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like StarCraft. You can muscle memory your way through the first couple of minutes, but when you see your opponent's doing, you have to change strategy.
That's fair. I can see that.
Yeah. Well,
I don't agree we should ban them, but I disagree with your logic.
If I was to ban one of them, it'd probably be that. Or like I said, like visual novels. Like the really low effort, like PowerPoint ones. If you get what I mean.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Good writing.
That's fair.
Go be a writer. Don't just put the picture on screen.
But people like visual novels. In fact, I think visual novels do quite well on Steam as well.
Oh, look, I agree. But then also like go animate it. Like, I don't know. I
Wow.
think I've seen enough videos like I made a light visual novel in PowerPoint and sold it on Steam. I'm just like, damn,
I
fair
don't
play.
think I don't think you can sell a PowerPoint on Steam. I'll be honest with you. I think
I think there's a
you
program
can
you
use
use to like,
Python.
yeah.
No, you can use Python. There's a Python thing you can use, which makes
Ah,
it
okay.
fairly straightforward for low level programmers. So that's why it's a good. But you still have to be able to draw art, which now I guess you can do AI art. I guess
Yeah,
maybe
that's
now.
what I mean. I think a lot of people will now use AI art just to kind of like push through the bulk of it. Like, I think respect the artists and I respect the musicians. I just don't like it when people just like, I don't know, just jump on the back of that. Like, we could make some. We could use the art that we have on screen playing at the moment, or the podcast art where it's like me painting and you doing some drawings. A very skilled
Mm.
artist has to do that. I don't think someone from AI should be able to like just copy and paste that into like 5 different fun poses and sell it for like £4 on Steam because some kid's going to buy it because there might be the promise of boobies. You know?
It sells. It does sell.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you very much for joining us on the podcast. If you have any topics, questions, or anything you would like us to discuss, please email us at podcast@dungeoneers.tv. And I will promise you, Ollie will handwrite you a response, upload it as a PDF, and reply to your email. Isn't that right, Ollie?
I'm not doing that.
You're definitely doing that. He's agreed to it off
Okay.
camera. Okay. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you whenever we can record again. And I promise it won't be this much of a break this time. Bye.